Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Alvin Ellis, ready to rock.
today we're watching the trailer on Absolute Power. This is really nothing new, but let's see it in action-packed form of the Mark Waid and the art and all that other stuff. So let's see what's going on with this thing. Ready, set, and
Uh-oh. They shot Superman. Never seen that before.
Trinity of Evil has won.
No, they can't. Not in those outfits.
Look at all that. Look at all the talent involved. Starting soon and next month.
Well, the preliminary stuff already started because they had the fail-safe story with Batman, House of Brainiac with Superman. Who's the third one? I guess it's something supposed to be doing for Wonder Woman, but I don't know what that one, what the connection is with her, since it's supposed to be the Dark Trinity.
Well, I'll just start off to say,
Right.
even though kind of not too jazzed about this. The
Really? I wonder why. Why not?
the art is pretty looks pretty good here. Like right here.
Agreed.
I don't know about the Flash's outfit, but this looks like
Stupid.
fun. Huh? Oh.
Looks stupid.
um
Look, he looks like he's gonna run into something with his head. What do we need the strikes for? I mean, it's stupid.
and
Aquaman's outfit is Aquaman's outfit is stupid. Flash's outfit is stupid. Wonder Woman's outfit, I don't understand at all. And Martian Manhunter, why does he need an outfit? Martian Manhunter can't lose his superpowers. He's a Martian. Same thing with Superman. That's like turning It's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. It's who you are. It's not like you can take away the powers. You have to like knock out the sun or something.
well,
But you can already see where I am in terms of this story. So go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
going, ultimately these heroes have, lost their powers. So it's not necessarily original idea of how someone has figured a way to outside of kryptonite for Superman, and outside of fire for Martian Manhunter. People found ways to do it. This kind of wide scale thing kind of goes into, the Blackest Night where Superman was going to be worried about losing. Well, I don't even only I know in the storyline it wasn't like that, but in the Kevin Smith retread was Superman kind of being like, "Oh my God, I'm feeling cold." That sort of thing. But ultimately, the problem with the series, of course, sorry, y'all, the problem with the series, of course, I'm not used to the setup all the time, is these knuckleheads. These knuckleheads of Batman's creation. I don't like I like Amanda Waller as a thorn as a hero side. Being with the villains is kind of offsetting. Um, I don't think she would work with, at least not Brainiac, the Batman kind of clone thing, the robot Batman, evil Batman. I can't see that either, but um, whatever gets you to the story you have in this Green Lantern that got in the back. So it's, I guess, who steals their powers, and oh, maybe it's having this connection to what we saw in Crisis, right? Because they had Amazo and these
What,
kind
Dark
of,
Crisis?
huh?
What, you mean Dark Crisis? Oh,
No,
you mean
the
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 anime
movie, the animated thing.
that trash? No, forget it. No, 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 no.
I'm saying
I mean,
these guys look a little like Amazo, and they all have the hero's power. So
well, that's not even the Amazo that they've decided to come up with in animation is more powerful than any Amazo that ever existed in the comic, which is saying a lot. Because Amazo was, that was like an Omega level threat for the Justice League when and if he did show up. But there were different Amazos because this one Amazo got taken down by Batman and Nightwing. So, it depends. It would depend on, there was more than one. And I don't really see the connection here because then the Amazo is really going to be fail safe. And, fail safe is just a bad idea that they gave to Batman that is just really outlived any usefulness, which is that Batman is supposed to have contingencies in case any members of the Justice League go rogue. And then he's like, okay, well, he's got to have a contingency for himself too. And then that one goes rogue. And now we got this particular issue. The whole idea of Batman having a contingency was really only because Superman decided if he ever went rogue, he wanted to be checked. And so he gives Batman the kryptonite ring. Then we get Mark Waid, who is the writer of this story as well, who decides, oh, we're going to do the whole Tower Babel thing where, he's got contingency for everyone, but it goes left, which should have been enough for people to realize this is not the guy to have these contingencies. They keep going left. Now we got a whole summer event, and a third of it is based on the fact that he went left. So I've seen enough stories where the heroes lose their powers. They got to do it without, as a Superman fan, I've seen more than my fair share of those. Okay, the person has lost their powers, and they show that no, it's not just the powers, they're still capable even without them. They decided to do it Wonder Woman in the 70s. I don't know why. That was supposed to make her more interesting, but all she did was just become a gung fu master, and she was never incapable. She was never unable to do what she needed to do. So here we got the same premise that their powers are gonna be taken away. We know they're gonna get their powers back. We know this is gonna happen. So that's not the draw for me. Watching them work without their powers, there's got to be something else here, and I'm not seeing it because the leader of this whole thing is Amanda Waller. There's no reason for Amanda Waller to be pulling off stuff like this. It just not between. She's Task Force X. Okay, that's where we know her from. She's supposed to be the person putting together this task force, this Suicide Squad. You've got all these other organizations, everything from Cadmus to Checkmate, and somehow she's pulling this off, and nobody's saying, "Hey, I want to get a piece of this." It just doesn't make a lot of sense that she would be able to move this way. So you got my issue with Amanda Waller. Fail safe doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Where it's this Batman, this is supposed to be a contingency to stop Batman, and yet somehow it turned into like the Justice League version of Amazo, which just keeps getting more and more powerful. And that should not be the case with anything that Batman creates. And then lastly, you got the Brainiac Queen. And hey, if you like the Borg, if you like the Borg, shout out to Mars. If you like the Borg Queen, then I guess you like the Brainiac Queen as well. It's just not a lot of originality here. But who knows? Story maybe I've been wrong before where I was very critical of the story, looking, at what they were showing, and then when I got into the meat and potatoes of it, it was more entertaining. This could be there. I am very dubious that that will happen at the end of the day. There's not a lot of originality here.
Well, yeah, those are all fair. And now the hard part is, I don't know, even in the Silver Age, outside of Batman having a spaceship going into other worlds, they really wouldn't get into the actual it's just what people did in the 50s that, hey, they just travel into space. No one kind of put in any kind of thought into like the logistics of Batman himself doing it. But, ultimately they add this into his thing of building robots and all this other stuff, which not really in this thing. But here we go. We have another Amanda Waller, at least, even though she doesn't look exactly like the way she originally was, at least she got the weight back on, which I'm kind of happy with that. But I don't like the character that they made her into, which is kind of like, anything goes. Like she's actually she should be way smaller. She should be like way smaller here. But you got to put her on the apple cart for the shot. Even though
Keep the character, lose the weight.
I don't want her. I like that she was just sort of almost a real person that was just given the DC, not just the heroes, she'd give the other organizations the business that were out there. Checkmate, she was just there, just a thorn at everyone's side, but not a criminal, not I don't know who would it be, I guess not actually Nixon, but someone, the super villain version of Nixon. But anyway, that's about it. We've been talking about this. There's a lot of buzz about it, and there's a lot of stuff happening afterwards with Absolute Power. We're gonna get possibly not a real reboot, but maybe some storylines that they can kind of usher in, which kind of worked for them when they did the New 52 from obviously Flashpoint, what they did with the Rebirth stuff, where they add a whole bunch of new number ones. So maybe this will be a big buzz for DC as going forward. How do you feel about that before we get out of here?
This Absolute Power will be a big buzz.
Like leading into some more story, new
Eh,
relaunches, jumping on
unlikely.
points, that sort of thing.
All the DC buzz stuff has been the storylines that are not canon and offbeat. So that's been Injustice, Gods Among Us, DC versus Vampires, Deceased, those type of stories. So the story where the heroes go bad, the stories where the heroes fight vampires, and the story where the heroes turn into zombies. Those have been the standouts. Oh, I think the most recent one was Justice League versus Godzilla and King Kong. I think that was very well received. Even though the last issue was so lackluster because they never really had a proper fight between Superman and Godzilla. So they just totally avoided it by knocking out Superman for like 4 issues. So I don't see this going too. I don't see this going too far. It's a big aggrandizement of Amanda Waller and what she. See, I get what you're saying about you want her to be a regular person, but when you do a storyline like this with her, she's not a regular person because
Yeah.
no regular person could pull this off. No regular person would pull this off. And then it eats at itself because she's like, oh, I'm going to take away all the powers of the superheroes. I guess let's say all the superpowered people, I'm going to take away the powers. Okay. And then I got these 2 guys over here who are superpowered beings, okay, who are going to be working with me. But it goes along with the same thing where, okay, now you've got all this power. You are exactly what you're afraid of. So I guess we learned that at some point in the storyline where she's going to have, maybe she'll have that come to Jesus moment. Is like, oh my goodness, I've become exactly what it was I was trying to stop. I'm like, duh. It just not a. She's worked with superpowered people before, not like the real heavy hitters, but superpowered people before in terms of the Suicide Squad. And somehow it went from these guys being expendable, expendable pieces towards whatever it is that she needed to operate them to operate on, to I've got to do this for the world. And there's only a handful of characters that have the gravitas that really step into something like that. And she's not Doctor Doom, she's not Magneto, she's not the Red Skull. So I liked her as as the head of Task Force X. This over here puts her into a whole other echelon, and she never really demonstrated either the desire or the ability to step into something like this. But she has been popular the last few years because she's been in some movies. So, I maybe, I don't know, maybe she's hot. Maybe a lot more people want to see her do this type of stuff. But for me, historically with that character, it just doesn't fit for me.
Okay, so once we get some issues, we will talk more about it. Spinner rack
We're out.
out. It is my thing.
Absolute power. Absolute trap.